It's a difficult time to try to plan out and build a computer right now, but what better holiday gift to give than some knowledge? What's up everybody, Dimitri of Caddac Gaming here, and today we're going to go over a few computer build recommendations at $500, $800, and $1,000. And we're going to kind of go over what kind of parts you can kind of expect in those price ranges. And right now, with the difficulty of parts being available, especially the new AMD CPUs, the new NVIDIA and AMD GPUs, and where some of those could be slotted in. Alright, so at the $500 price point, getting a dedicated CPU and GPU would be a little bit difficult. If you decide to go used, you can probably get something close there, but brand new, your best bet is to get a CPU with integrated graphics. And right now, the best bang for your buck are the AMD G series CPUs. So the 3200 is a great CPU. You'll be able to run games like Fortnite and Minecraft at decent settings at 1080p. So you should have a pretty good time. If you're going to build someone young a computer just to start out with, this is a really good starting point. For the motherboard, having the ASRock B450 Pro is a really great option for a full-size motherboard below 80 bucks. If you do want to go for something a little bit cheaper, you can get something like a micro ATX. The same board in a micro ATX size is $10 cheaper. So if you want to save the 10 bucks, you can go that way, but you do lose those extra PCIe slots, and you do have a much smaller board. Everything's a little bit smaller and more compact, a little bit more difficult to get around. I would try to go for a full-size board unless you're going to build in a smaller case. Now for the RAM, these Crucial Ballistics 16GB kit is really great. 3600 CL16. This is the kind of kit where if you did decide to upgrade your system later, you can take this RAM and install it in the new system and it'll do great. These aren't going to be the greatest overclocking RAM sticks, but with a 3200G, I'm sure you're probably not overclocking very much anyways. So this is a really good budget stick that you can use in the next tier up. You can use it in the top tier. It's a really great stick for its price. Now, the Crucial P2 is an incredible deal at 50 bucks for 500 gigabytes of an M.2 SSD. This is where you put your boot drive and then any excess games. You can always go and purchase additional hard drives later if you end up needing more space or SSDs and what have you. Keep an eye out, SSDs do go on sale quite often, especially right now during the holidays. So if you did want more space, you can go ahead and pick something else up. Now, the Fractal design is probably one of my favorite cases under $100. It's got great airflow, it looks great, very easy to build in, and for this price point, you really can't beat it. Again, as I've mentioned before, cases are a personal choice because of the design, and it's going to be the most visible part of your computer, so you want it to look however you think looks good. But the Meshify C is a great starting point, and it performs really well. This power supply is by Seasonic, great power supply manufacturer. 650 watts at this price is really incredible, 50 bucks. It's a bronze certified, and because it's a 650 watt, you'll be able to use it. Again, if you increase the components of your system, if you get a dedicated GPU, you get a better CPU, this power supply will be able to hold you over for those as well. So it is a really great starting point for a computer like this if you plan on upgrading in the future. It is non-modular though, so you're going to want to be able to take care of those extra cables, and the Meshify C does a really good job of hiding all those. Now, if we go up to the next tier, you're going to see the 3600. This is a amazing value CPU, and at its price, you really cannot beat what it gives you. Do not purchase this CPU over $200 ever. It often goes below to about $175. Right now, it's rated at the $200 price point, and that's again part of this whole thing that's going on right now where scalpers are just buying up all the stock of the new stuff. Prices of all the stuff that's available is going up because of that. So keep that in mind, but still at $200, this is a really good CPU, really good for gaming performance, has, okay productivity performance, but you really can't beat it at the $200 price point. As you can see, the motherboard, the RAM, the storage, the case, and the power supply are all the same as the last build, because as I mentioned, a lot of these are really good and you can use them between each other. Very good idea to keep your money down. If you wanted to spend a few more bucks, you can get a bigger SSD, or you can get another motherboard that has maybe some additional features that you'd like. But these ones are really good, and you're going to see me use these basically across the board. Now, the big difference here is the 1650 Super instead of having the integrated graphics. And this is going to be your best bet at this price point right now. Again, with the whole GPU situation going on, it is very difficult to find GPUs at a reasonable price, what they're listed for at MSRP. I do highly suggest, if you're looking at a graphics card, make sure that you Google the original MSRP for that specific one, whether it is the reference boards, the Founders Editions, or an AIB board, like this one, the MSI Ventus here, and make sure that the price that they're listing it for is around that MSRP. You really don't want to be spending an extra $100. I've had a few people come to me and be like, hey, is this a good deal? And they send me it, and the listing is like $150 over the actual MSRP. And people who don't know about this kind of stuff aren't going to notice that, and they're going to end up buying it. Now, at the $800 price point, a really great way to get more performance for the same price is to buy your GPU used. For about 300 bucks, you can probably end up getting something pretty nice. You can maybe find a 2060. You can get something higher, like a 1660 Super, for probably a little bit less than this. I personally picked up a 1650 Super for $200 Canadian, so keep that in mind. I picked that up used from someone who was upgrading, and it is a great GPU. I use it for my streaming PC, but this is the kind of price point where if you wanted to go used, you can significantly get more performance than buying new, especially with the current situation. Now, at the $1,000 price point, everything is the same except for the GPU. Now, this is a what if kind of computer, because right now the 3070s are very difficult to get your hands on. But if you were able to get your hands on one, this is where I would kind of position that. The price I have listed in here of $540 is the MSRP for this EVGA card. EVGA is a video card manufacturer that I trust very much. They have fantastic customer support. They build really good products, and if you can go ahead and get one, you know, take a look at all the AIBs. You can take a look. The Asus TUF graphics card is a very good, almost at the Founders Edition MSRP, and it performs very well for its price. You have a lot of options, but again, availability is the issue here. So if you can get your hands on one, you bring that $800 PC up to about $1,000. And again, the 3600 is a great spot here. This is probably going to be your best bang for buck computer. The $1,000 is usually the best value section here, and the 3600 is just such a good CPU. It comes with a very good cooler for what it is. If you wanted to upgrade it, you're more than welcome to in the future, but it does its job, and with the 3600X, it is more than enough. Now, if we wanted to go for something attainable at $1,000, unfortunately, you do lose a lot, because the only thing that would be able to fit into this budget at this price, brand new, would be something like a 5700 XT. The 5700 XT is going to be significantly below the 3070. It performs around the same as a 2070 or so, and if you can find a 2070 around this price, it would fit in here as well, but I couldn't find anything. Prices are being scalped everywhere and gouging and just being listed way too high. So unfortunately right now, this is where you would have to be. Again, you could do something around $1,000 and buy a used GPU, buy a used, 2070 Super off somebody, something of that sort, and get a little bit more performance. GPUs are a really good thing to buy used. I can't express that enough. They perform really well over long periods of time. People that upgrade their old ones usually sell what they upgrade from, and it's a really great way to save a few bucks. Now, you've noticed that all of these builds have AMD parts in them, and that is because AMD is just still the better value at all the price points. However, because of the current situations right now, and the AMD chips being either price gouged or scalped and just not being available, the Intel chips do have some really good and great deals out right now that you can use to save yourself a few bucks. For example, you can pick up the 9700K for $269. It's going to perform better than the 3600. You're going to have more cores, so it's going to be a little bit better for productivity. The motherboard is going to be more expensive, and that's the most difficult part about Intel, is that not only are the CPUs either at the same price or more expensive, the motherboards are usually much more expensive, but you can do a really good job here, and you can find these on sale right now at B&H, and they've constantly been going on sale, and sometimes even better prices than these. And if you're going to get one of the K chips, which are unlocked, you're going to want to get a Z390 board so that you can overclock that chip. And one of the best priced ones right now is the Asus Prime. Really great motherboard. For 176 bucks, you'll be able to do a lot for it. But again, the combination of those are quite a bit more expensive than the Ryzen chips again, but the Ryzen chip's going to be more value. This one's going to be a bit more performance. Once the 5600 comes out, it's going to be a little bit harder to reference to the 9700K, for example, because the cheaper price and the better performance in gaming, but we're going to have to wait and see that comes out. The 5600X is an incredible CPU. It does a really good job, but it is a little bit more expensive. And with the previous gen, the 3600 was way better value than the 3600X. You got a few better clocks out of the 3600X, but it wasn't really worth the extra money you were paying for it. And you could usually, if you kept the 3600 cool enough, it would automatically boost to the levels of the 3600X anyways. If you're going to stay around the Z390 boards, you can also go for the 9900K. Again, pretty good price on sale, 350 bucks. This is going to be your previous gen, like top of the line CPU, a really good CPU to get if you're going to be doing a lot of productivity and gaming. Again, you could pair that with this Asus motherboard. You can get something a little bit more beefy with higher quality VRMs so that you can do a little bit more overclocking. If you're going to go Intel, you're going to want to overclock to get that value out of those chips. And so going with the Z series board is definitely recommended. Now, if you want something newer, you can go for the 10700K. Again, it's also on sale for $55 off. Very good CPU. This is someone who games, who also does productivity, but gaming is more of a priority. If gaming was your only thing, the 10300K would probably be your best bet. Oddly enough, I noticed that the 10300 and the 10400, the prices have been switching around. So the 10400 was actually cheaper a lot of the time. So that's also an option if you want. And you're going to have to pair that up with a Z490 motherboard. Again, you can go with the Asus Prime. Really great motherboard. It's going to be a little bit more expensive than the previous generation, as is the Intel motherboard way. But pairing these together is a good option. You are going to be spending more. Now, the other thing to consider when going the Intel route is that you're going to have to buy a CPU cooler. The 3600, and one of the reasons that it's so good for its value is that at 200 bucks, it beats a lot of the other things at that price point, and it comes with its own dedicated CPU cooler. That is a pretty good, starting spot to be in. All of the Intel ones that I mentioned, you're going to have to go and get your own CPU cooler. You can get something like the Evo 212, which is a very cheap but affordable option, and it does a very good job. Or if you go ahead and go around the $100 range, you can get a very simple AIO, or you can get a pretty good air cooler like the NHD15, as long as it fits in your computer. Or you can get one of the lower profile options from Noctua as well. Really good options. And that's really it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you found something helpful, please consider giving me a thumbs up, liking the video, hitting the subscribe button. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, or join our Discord where we can have a little bit more of a conversation. I often have people coming in there and asking about different build recommendations, and myself, along with my friends and other people in there, all are more than happy to pitch in and give their opinions some advice. We post deals and stuff in there all the time as well. If you did like the idea of this video and you'd want me to maybe do these every couple months, hopefully once the CPU and GPU situation with stock balances out and becomes a little bit more normalized, I can do another one of these videos and do like an update. And maybe I can do these every couple of months where we do one at all the different price ranges and kind of give those recommendations. As always, I stream on Twitch from Friday until Tuesday. Come check me out, come say hello. If you have any questions or comments, you can tell me them there as well, and I'll try my best to answer them as quickly as possible. And stay safe out there, have a happy holidays, and I'll see you next Friday.